Welcome to episode 2 of season 6. This is a very, very special episode of the Foy & Jones Show because we're marking a momentous occasion. Today, we're on location and we are joined by the brilliant John Davies of SMEG UK and his marketing team. This is an episode that you are going to enjoy. Here we go. We are recording season 6 of the Foy & Jones Show. It's a very, very special episode today, and there's lots of reasons for it to be special. One, Charlie Hula's in the house. How you doing, Mr. Hula?
I'm a happy man.
Charlie makes the magic happen, and he was just playing that theme tune again, which always makes me smile. But why is today a special episode? It's our first episode on location away from the studio since the pandemic. So this is the first time we've been out. So you guys and girls should feel special. It's even better because we've got a face returning to the show, and we are at the wonderful SMEG UK's headquarters in Oxfordshire, beautiful Oxfordshire, and we've got a lineup. We've got a lineup today. We've got a studio that's full, and we're just going to welcome the first person from the SMEG Marketing Team, John Davies.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Foy & Jones Show.
No pressure.
He's a 2-time podcast veteran, boys and girls.
I'm feeling old.
Last time, you told your story. You told us about the amazing collaborations that have been going on with SMEG. But today, we're going to meet the team behind John Davies. We're going to meet the people that make his work look so special. Because, yes, he claims all the credit, but I know that behind every good person there's a team. And we're going to walk around, we're going to say hello to you all. But more importantly in this episode, we're going to have fun. You up for that? Yeah, we're going to laugh. We're going to talk about our own journeys, and we're hopefully going to give some messages of inspiration, because this season, this podcast is all about inspiring our stars of the future. So, John, you brought a full house. Who have you got with you today?
We've got a full team, as you said, Pete. We've got Neve to my left, and Neve has been with us now for 12 months. Yeah. So today is her anniversary as SMEG. So, Neve, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
We've then also got Chris. Chris is our graphic designer, and Chris has been with us for many years now, and I want to, without spoiling his story, he can talk a bit about that in a minute. Yeah, nice to meet you too, Chris.
Chris, do you mean that, Chris? Do you mean that? Yeah, there's love. All right, okay. We're gonna warm you up because you've got a big moment coming later, Chris. You've got a big moment, and celebrating 12 months. That's something very, very special. We've got another celebration today, which I'm going to come to when we work our way around the room. But who else we got with us, John?
We've also got Lucy, and Lucy's been with us now for 3 months, and has joined us from after a very interesting background in retail. So we'll come on to Lucy again in a moment.
And lastly, sitting next to me on the right,
and we've got Abby at the end.
You all right, Abby?
Yes, good, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So, a full house, 5 guests. We haven't even spoke about Fulham Football Club yet, but that will come, John. That will come. I've actually managed to find a Fulham supporter-ish in the lineup. So,
right, okay.
So
was that hard work?
Yeah, just explain that to me again. Why are you a Fulham supporter?
So my sister's boyfriend supports Fulham, so there's half a link there.
There you go.
Very tenuous, if you ask me.
That's almost a season ticket holder.
Exactly.
That's almost a season ticket holder.
Typical
Lucy,
Fulham fans.
So Lucy is a Fulham season ticket holder, and she's working at SMEG. We're going to find out how you arrived here during the show. But Charlie, very special day today. Not just on location, not just with John Davies and the SMEG marketing team. I'm going to take us back, and we're going to go back to the, I think it's spring of 2019. John, I had this crazy idea, because I have crazy ideas. This crazy idea was, how can I take my social following on LinkedIn and the video content I'm doing, how can I take it into a different direction? What do I enjoy? I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy having fun. Do a little bit of recruitment on the side, but that's kind of the day job. But I love personalities. I love talking. I love hearing people's stories. So I got this crazy podcast idea. And I thought, if I can talk about people within my industry, bring their personalities alive, throw a little bit of football in, I might have something to go with. Did I ever believe that 5 years later I'd be sitting here at SMEG with you guys saying this, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, is the 100th episode of the Foy & Jones Show? How about that? How about that? 100 episodes. We've been on location. We went into lockdown. Or we smashed some episodes out during lockdown. Someone didn't make the lockdown episodes, did they, John?
No, that's true.
Someone didn't make. He never forgives me for that. I don't know what happened.
No, but you let me off, didn't you?
Yeah. We let you off and we got you in for a great episode of season 5.
Yeah, and I'm still reeling from that. I got a parking ticket outside your studio. No. Brighton City Council have got a lot to answer for.
It's all about driving in the right lane, though, isn't it? To be fair,
it's those bloody bus lanes.
We've changed it since then. Since you got your ticket, we've told everyone to park next door to the studio rather than try and get into the studio. So you've saved a lot of people grief.
But when I win my football, then I won't get a parking ticket at the same time.
Well, I mean, a two-time podcast appearance. Now the man's nearly on course for a hat-trick ball, but. This season 6, it's about inspiring our stars of the future. So we want to talk about the journeys that brought us to where we are right now, because everyone knows about this brand. We know about the beautiful products. We know about the creative marketing. And let's be honest, we've seen you having it off in Vegas as well. And it's a brand that stands out. I've walked around the showroom with my mouth open. You know, because you're like, wow. I think Sarah walked down.
I think you wanted a coffee, though, Pete.
Yeah, I did. It's a long drive. It's a long drive from Sussex by the Sea, mate. But Sarah bumped into me out there, and she said, "You okay?" And I'm just like just starstruck. I'm looking at all everything there. But every business is only as good as its people, and that's a really powerful message. Do you agree with that? Abby agrees with that. Chris, definitely. Excellent. So, John. Let's talk about how you arrived at SMEG UK, because I think if we get your story, that's a powerful message we can give to all of the listeners.
Absolutely, and I like a lot of brands as a marketeer, I coveted SMEG, and when I heard from a recruitment agency that there was a position available, I was like, well, absolutely, I want to go for it. And I worked my absolute nuts off for the job, and I got through the first interview, and this was about 13 years ago, and I was told that I'd made the final round of interviews, but I knew that I was up against people with industry experience, so I had to work harder to overcome those hurdles, and I did. I spent every night of the week leading up to the interview preparing for a really big presentation about how I wanted to take the marketing forward at SMEG. And I delivered that on the day. I felt the interview went well. And then after interview, sometimes you have a bit of an anticlimax. Did I say the right thing? Did it go well? Did it not go well? And it wasn't for about 24 hours until I heard back and I got the job. And I remember that moment. I was driving. I nearly crashed my car. Our MD phoned me and said, John, I'd like to offer you the job.
Like the way everyone's laughing when you nearly crashed your car. You know, no one's going, oh, good job you didn't. They're laughing. I know. You know.
And I had to actually stop the car at the nearest lay-by to actually carry on with the conversation and accept the job. But I remember that moment, and that moment was special. And I joined the marketing team, and I was the only person in the team. And obviously now I'm joined by a whole team of us that are now working together. And that for me is special, to see that how far the company's come, and the fact that I've managed to progress the business enough to be able to bring a headcount in.
Have your driving skills improved?
Definitely not. No,
definitely not. Okay, it's harder as you get older.
Yeah, don't ask me how many points I've got.
It's harder as you get older. But are we going to get everyone to share some different stories? Because that's what it's about. Because we all go through things, and I deal with lots of individuals that are on the other end of job seeking. So they get the phone call or not. They might not get the phone call. They've been unsuccessful. But feeling nervous when you're going for a job, maybe going for something which you think's outside your comfort zone. They're all emotions people go for, transferring into a different sector. I was, people know my story. I was a kid from the council estate in Fulham, and I didn't have an okay education. I stayed in school, I finished it. Probably could do better all the way through. But when I started working for a builder's merchant and started developing my career, I was always the youngest. I was like the youngest rep, the youngest this, the youngest. So I was always like, oh yeah, you could go that, but you're too young. I'm like, why am I so young? And I look back now and I think, well, if I managed to make that happen with hard work, personality, good mentors, because I did work for good people, and that helps because you got encouragement. There's so much that our industry can offer. And it's getting that message back. It's why you've joined John in the studio to record this today, because there's so many different stories. So who should we talk to first, John? Who should we get in first?
I would go for just pick.
I'm going to go with Lucy. There you go.
Gonna do that.
I'm going with Lucy because she's the Fulham supporter.
Absolutely.
The Fulham supporter has to go first.
I think
all
a
right?
fake
So,
supporter.
Lucy, all I want you to do is just, you're not a fake supporter, you're real now, okay? You
Okay.
are real. Tell us about your journey and how you arrived sitting on this stool with a microphone in your hand, talking to me on my podcast. Let's hear your story.
So if we're going way back to school, which wasn't really that long ago because I'm still a little baby, but still. So school was fine, normal experience. It was happy, didn't really mind being at school, like doing the work. It was quite nice. But it got to sixth form and, to be honest, it all just absolutely plummeted from there. I absolutely despised it. The essays, everything, I hated it. So I decided to abandon that completely and just go straight into full-time working at retail, which I got sucked into and ended up being there for 5 years, longer than I wanted to be. And then I sort of skipped the whole uni path and I did it a little bit unconventionally and I did open uni instead, which I'm still doing now. So yeah, it's going well. It's a little bit stressful, but doing that alongside work here. So yeah, full-time study, full-time job. So I don't have a life, basically, to put it in a bubble.
You've got to work on that part, all right? So the full-time study is
There's
good,
a
the
balance
full-time
that
job's
needs
good.
to be made.
The actual journey you went on is so, that's going to connect with so many people because not everyone wants to follow that path.
Yeah.
Some people will go that path. But actually to talk to someone that is committing their own time to do the studying, that's commendable. But also, you said something which I think it's so powerful. Sixth form, that was it. You knew you were done.
And it was just
And
not the
at that
path.
moment, you're done. It's sticking or twisting and where you go the right way. So how did you arrive? What stood out about this opportunity? How was that for you?
It was more the products, and I think if you love the products and you love the look of a company, you want to work there. It's just like a natural sort of gravitation towards somewhere, and I think that goes for probably both of you girls as well. So yeah, it was just, pink fridges, pink kettles, what brought me here.
So it's all down. So good recruitment and good talent attraction, John.
Yeah.
I've got to make a note of this. It's down to pink kettles and
Definitely.
pink toasters.
That was the main selling
Pink
point
banners
for me.
any good?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
pink banners. Nice to see she's on point with
I
the
know,
colours.
it fits the aesthetic.
But it's about standing out, and everything we do as a business in the recruitment space is about standing about. It's about being honest with people.
Yeah,
because I imagine on your journey into employment, all of you guys, you're going to be let down by someone who says they're going to ring you back.
Multiple
You're going to apply
times.
for a job and no one's going to come back to you. You're going to feel really happy, then really sad, and then it's understanding the strategies and the approach to take to get noticed. And getting noticed is what really stands everyone out. I often say to people, and we covered it last week in the episode about when I'm talking about my redundancy support, I'm saying to people that there are 3 things that are going to get you moving in terms of job seeking and employability, and every single one of those aspects is controlled by you, not by me as a recruiter, not by the company that's hiring. It's owned by you. You can control it. First, and this is the most important, is your own head. Because if your head's in the right place and you're committed and you're maybe challenging yourself, maybe dreaming a bit bigger than normal, but you really mean it, you're going to give yourself a chance. And approaching that process with your head in the right place, everything else kicks in. The next 2 components to get you, almost using a football term, John, to get you match fit for job seeking, the next 2 components are curriculum vitae. All right, the CV, which my mate Leonardo da Vinci created. John knows this story, but, I'm going to say it again, but he arrived in Milan. He wanted a job. He put on a scroll everything he was good at, which was quite a lot of things, because he could draw, he could philosophise, he could do lots of stuff. And he went to the Duke of Milan. And that roughly translates in Latin to passage of life or journey of life. And in the 1400s, the first CV was born. You finished school 10 minutes ago. You would have used a CV. So that's amazing. But then that CV, I say to people, forget what you read, forget what someone tells you, because we can all argue about what a good CV looks like or doesn't look like. How does it make you feel? When you give that to someone, is that the best representation of you? Are you 100% happy with it? Can you walk away from giving that to someone and go, yeah, I'm happy with that? Because if it makes you feel good, that's the document you want representing you. So,
definitely.
head's in the right place, documents in the right place. Next one, modern world. Social media, because if anyone says to you like, right, when you apply for a job, we're not going to stalk you on every social media channel, they're lying.
Yeah,
we will find
absolutely.
you. We will find you. So for me, I give people advice because they're looking for professional positions. I immediately talk about their LinkedIn profile. Yeah. Wow, what a tool! When you're asleep at night, that LinkedIn profile can be working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're content, engaging, you're building your connections, you're going to be standing out. So if you get them 3 components right, you've got a CV that you're proud of, and your LinkedIn profile is working on your behalf, and you're boosting that through content or engaging with others, and your head's in the right place. You can be a star of the future.
Yeah, and Lucy's got something else really good to talk about as well, because you were given a piece of advice from your family before coming to interview.
Please
weren't
share,
you?
Lucy. Please share.
What was that really nice piece of advice that you were given?
I'm trying to remember whether it's the one I'm thinking of or if it's an alternative. But
I think it was your father that gave you some advice.
One of the things he said, it might not be the one you're referring to, but he said to just apply for anything and everything, regardless of whether it says, you must have XYZ experience. I think the best thing to do, and the best thing I ever did, was just ignore all of that and just look at the job description and just apply.
And then I think you also said to me that that he said just go in there and be confident and be whilst you didn't have the experience that we were applying.
Don't sort of shy away from it. Just admit that you don't have it and
go in there with honesty.
I think there's 2 points there. One, your father's a very wise man, so that's good. The old
I'll
man's
tell him you said that.
Tell him, and he's a Fulham fan now. So there you go. We're recruiting, Charlie. We're recruiting. Right, but let's go back to that. So two parts of advice there. My take on it is actually, if you like the company, if you believe you're right for the job, dream big and apply for the job regardless of that. All right, if you've got to fly an airplane and you don't know how, probably don't apply for that job. But,
maybe not.
But dreaming big is really important. I'd be sensible in terms of don't apply for every position you see. Actually apply for something you really want to do and mean it.
Definitely.
And then the other advice, that's spot on. Be yourself, be confident, be prepared. If 99% of people are going to do that much preparation, but people won't be able to see my hand signals on Spotify, but do more. If someone's going to do 10%, do 20. If someone's going to do 30%, do 40. And think differently. Because that's really, really important, is think differently. But good advice, John.
That was my experience at SMEG, in the sense that my mates turned around, we went out for a beer, and they said, like, we got to the second round of interviews, and they said, well, if you're up against people that have got good, solid industry experience, why are you bothering? And I said, because I believe in it. And they turned around and said, well, you're not going to get it. And I said, well, you're telling me that I'm not going to get it. That's going to fuel me to actually go and get it. And I felt really good when I then went off and got it. I'd come from a background of construction, and they said to me, you're not going to basically get into blue chip or FMCG without blue chip or FMCG experience. And I said, well, I'll try my best, and I'll prove you wrong, and I did. So that was my experience.
Some people said to me, and I'm in my 20th year with the Foyne Jones Recruitment Group. People said to me when I was walking away from a decent job, it's quite a high position within a big corporate business as London Sales Director. I was only 27. People were saying, you've done it for a couple of years. You're not 30 yet. Why are you walking away? Are you mad? And I'm like, no. Like, I want to do this. Like, I want to set my own business up, we've had spectacular highs, and we've had lows, and we've had everything in between. But I'm sitting here today. We survived the financial crisis of 2009 and 10. We survived Brexit. We survived the pandemic. We've come out of it fitter, stronger, and more profitable. You can do it. And there's no science to that. It's hard work, it's personality, and it's keep trying. And it's the personalities we want to bring in. So we've got some other guests who haven't told this story. So let's go with you next.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, who are you?
I'm Abby.
I know, I've got your name written down, and I've got it right. Not like producer Charlie, who nailed it first time.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's got it written down on his hand or something, Charlie.
Probably has as a producer.
Yeah, he probably has. Abby, welcome to the Foyne Jones Show. I know that, again, it's your first podcast, but you're an avid podcast listener. You've got another one to add to subscribe now. You've got 99 episodes to catch up on before you get to your one. So that's some listening in itself. But tell us your story, Abby.
So I had a bit of a different experience to Lucy, actually. So when I was at school and then went on to college, and I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a bit scared to go into a full-time job. I just wasn't really sure. So I did go to uni. I did fashion marketing.
Shouldn't apologise for going to uni. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, so I did fashion marketing at Falmouth Uni.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I think it just wasn't the right industry for me. And I think I also struggled afterwards, like you're saying about LinkedIn earlier. After uni, I just saw everyone getting jobs, and I was just like, I thought I was doing something wrong. But I really focused on creating my portfolio.
That affects you, doesn't it? When you see, because that's often because we do a lot of work with that as well. It's kind of like chill, it's okay, but you can get overwhelmed by everything you see.
Yeah, I think whilst I was applying for jobs, I remember not going on LinkedIn for a while because it sort of disheartens you a bit if you're getting rejected from jobs. But I mean, it didn't stop me because I'm here now. But yeah, I focused on creating that portfolio, and I think that is something that I would give as advice is if you're wanting like a creative job, whatever you do, just add it to your portfolio, even if you haven't got the experience, which I found that I didn't have actual work experience in it, but I sort of created it myself. And just using that and anything you've got, just adding it, and it will help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's another example of where them three components of job searching. You've looked at LinkedIn and thought that's not working for me.
Yeah.
Like, right now, it's not working for me, so you've made an adjustment. But the big area you focused on was you.
Yeah.
And it is
the belief, isn't
that
it?
Control.
Yeah.
That controls everything. Whether we get up in a bad mood, whether we get up, you get up to do yoga. I'm not one of these people that believes in like I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and change the world. I'm like, all right, mate. I see that all the time. But okay, come to my world and see how you feel. But what I believe in is if you commit to something, and you've got time and you focus on it, you've only got one go at it. So I say to people, show me 5 jobs you're interested in, and then show me. They're not my jobs, they're jobs anywhere. I'm like, okay, what one do you like the most? Why do you like it? That's why I like it. Okay, well, throw the other 4 in the bin.
Yeah.
And look at me like I'm mad. I said, let's go for that one. And let's really go for it. And then we can pick another one. And we can pick another one. Because what often, and you may have been in this, job seekers fall into a trap of they just hit apply, and you're being, your life's dictated by a job board, or it's that.
Yeah.
And that's not what works.
Yeah.
When I got my first job was on my granddad's fruit and veg stall. So I got that I didn't have a choice. I just had to do that. So
£2 for a pound.
£2 for 40 tomatoes, mate. I've still got it. I've still got the banter if we want to go there. But what that taught me was we had to get up early. We had to pull the barrow away. I had to sell stuff during the day. And if I sold a bit at the weekend, he'd give me money to go and watch Fulham, or Chelsea back then. So both home.
It was that cheap?
It was, mate. It was £1. You could pay the turnstile £1 back then. But I am old,
United
John.
fan, mate.
I'm 48 now. So I'm old. So I'm going back into the 80s. But when I went for my first job, I walked into a job centre because that was where you got jobs, and they had the jobs on the board. And picked one up and went to see the lady, and she said, "Sorry, that's gone." I went, okay. Went back, had a look at another one, picked another one up. Went to see the lady. She said, "Yeah, that's still available. Do you want to go forward?" Yeah. She rang the branch up, and I walked down there the next day, and they gave me the job. Did I wake up that day and decide that I want my dream was to be work in the yard of a builder's merchant or serving a counter? No. If someone had asked me a few years back what I wanted to do, I would have still said play centre forward or centre midfield for Fulham. Sadly, didn't quite have that in me.
You're entitled to your dream.
Yeah, we still dream. It might have left me now, John. It might have left me now. That at 48, I may not get that chance. But in later years, I have played at Fulham. I have done that. And you look at it from. And I say this to my own sons. My boys, my 24-year-old's got his own business. My 20-year-old, John knows, he passed out with a parachute regiment, so he's with the paras now. They're doing what they want to do. One was brilliantly gifted academically, the other one was severely dyslexic. So you look at it in different ways, but we've been able to support them as parents. I wouldn't say my advice has always been as good as your dad's, because I think it's quite hard sometimes to attach a day job to your own family. But I'm proud of what they do, and whatever path they chose, I want them to be happy. And job seekers should be about being happy. So if you found somewhere you're happy here, you're working in part of John's marketing team, what a good place.
Yeah.
What a good message to send to the next generation.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think I focused on wanting to just apply for jobs I knew I'd actually enjoy rather than apply to loads of them. And then I came across this job and I thought it was a perfect fit for me. Like as a consumer, I've always wanted to own SMEG products as well. And I thought like the job description as well fitted great. So yeah, I'm grateful.
We spent a lot of time talking about my first SMEG product in the last podcast, didn't we? My first one, my
I've
orange
forgotten
fridge.
what it was.
My orange fridge,
the orange fridge.
The orange fridge. Yeah. We done our little flat up in Fulham, and it was, my wife was there with John Lewis catalogue, and it was there. Other brands, it's not limited to one stockist, but I always remember that, and it was iconic, and it stayed in that little flat all the way through. Every tenant that rented the flat out, that was the showpiece thing of the kitchen, and it was
SMEG
just
is a
iconic.
statement of who you are, isn't it? And
It's just an iconic, and everything that Jane furnished the kitchen area with, all was built out of that purchase.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, are you ready? The digital revolution is no longer a spectator sport. It's game on. The magical art of storytelling is the future. Social, content, branding, podcasts, video marketing, and virtual 360 tours. This is Jones Digital.
Yeah.
So it was amazing moment.
Neve's wearing the colour now, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
we've
there
got
you go.
orange, we've got pink. It's like I'm reminiscing. So Neve, we're going to bring you in on that orange note. All right.
That was clever.
So that was good, John. That was seamless, mate.
That was
Very
clever.
good.
I
Very
could see him
good.
on Sunday brunch. I genuinely could.
Yeah.
I'd enjoy it, yeah, but I'd probably do too much eating, to be honest.
I mean, the amount of drinking they do. I'll be like
I was
Danny
just about
Dyer.
to say
Drinking's
that.
good.
All like that, and it was, I'll be in all
few
sorts.
different
I'll be in all
ciders for you to
sorts. I'll be in all
taste.
sorts of
Yeah.
trouble. But I'm celebrating my 100th podcast, which is fantastic for you guys to be part of. Right, that's great. But you're celebrating 12 months here.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's my 1 year anniversary today, so very, very happy to be here and on your 100th episode.
So how did your journey begin? How did you arrive here? Talk me through the steps.
Well, it's been quite a long kind of journey for me because I've always worked in sort of small businesses, but if I cast my mind back to how I initially started, it was kind of a conventional route, I would say, which is finishing my A-levels, and I've always been creative, so I then went into a year of an art foundation course, moved on to university, and I studied visual communication. Then once I'd finished my degree, I went straight into work. A lot of my friends sort of went into the London area and worked in fashion and things, but I was always more of a kind of arty, creative kind of person. So I'd started in a company as a like an administrator, and there was an opening for a graphic design position there. So that was about probably 13 years ago now. So I started in graphic design, but I've always worked in marketing departments or marketing agencies after that first job I had. So I've always been very interested in marketing. And my best friend has actually had a really lengthy career in marketing, and she's always said, why don't you think about doing marketing? Like you're not stuck in doing one thing, you can always branch out. So she said, I think you'd be fantastic at marketing. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really think I've got like enough experience in it. And she said, but you just have to show your personality. And that is exactly what Abby was saying. You just have to be brave, take that step and show your personality.
I know I'm cutting across, but I can't help it. But that message of being brave, showing your personality. John's mate said, we can't do it. You haven't got 10 lives before you. You haven't got 10 sets of experience that exactly match. He's proved it wrong. You've proved it wrong. And we're hearing it again, that actually being brave and believing, you followed your dreams. Yeah, the streets are not paved with gold in London, right? And I'm from West London. Yeah, so not every opportunity has to be within the square mile or within the capital. London's always going to be my home, but I haven't lived there for 10 years. I live near Brighton in Sussex. So, but I look at it now and I think there is so many opportunities in London. There's opportunities everywhere for people. Fantastic opportunities. You're doing something you're passionate about. So you went for marketing, and here you are.
So I have had around approximately 10 years, I guess, in graphic design. Sorry, and then when I applied for the role at SMEG, the way that I'd managed to sort of get myself around to applying for what I thought was a big step, because it's such an amazing company. I kind of just thought, I'm going to look for brands that I really, really like, and I'm going to go that way, because I'd always worked in the small businesses, and I thought, why not just reach for the stars and try and work for a brand that I really, really love myself already. So I did apply for the SMEG role for the marketing exec, but unfortunately I forgot to attach my cover letter. So that was a rookie error. So when I sent across the application, John received my application with all my graphic design experience.
And Neve actually got a rejection from me.
Yeah, I got rejected from John. So I was like, why? I was like,
well, that's changed the mood, isn't it? Eh? Did you want to move the seats around a little bit? Yeah.
Get the boxing gloves out.
Yeah.
What I did...
I'll get Brad involved. We'll get you in the ring.
Instead of get upset and cry, I was like, he's rejected me based on my graphic design experience, but I have actually got experience in marketing. So I looked back at my application and I was like, I haven't attached my cover letter, because I'd been working at this point in marketing for about a year and a half. And I was working and I was sort of looking after a team member and things like that. So I emailed John personally, didn't I? Which was a bit of a big step, I suppose.
It's brave.
But yeah, tried to be brave. And I just thought, I really, really want to work for this amazing company. And I'd heard good things. So I emailed John and I said, hello, thank you for your email. I just wondered if you did receive my cover letter, because I've attached it to this email, and I'd really appreciate if you could take another look at my application. And then I didn't hear back until the next day, when I was invited for interview. Yeah. So I was like, but I was invited by HR. So I was like, does John know that HR have invited me? Or
yeah, we do talk occasionally.
But yeah, so then I got my first interview, which was it was a Zoom call, wasn't it, or a Teams call?
Yeah, it was during the end of lockdown.
Yeah,
as it was starting to peter out, wasn't it?
Do you know what lockdown did? I mean, I say this quite a lot, but the global pandemic was horrific. You know, there was loss of life, the worst in humanity, the best in humanity, which was inspiring. But for me, as owning a recruitment business that's been pioneering video technology since 2015, it enabled everyone to catch up in a way. So a lot of our work is through video. So again, you know, it's not about my business, but we mentioned about that application, that covering letter, and you know, the CV and LinkedIn. We use video when we introduce people. So it's video alongside your portfolio. It's you talking about you, and it gives everyone a chance to bring their personalities and what you would bring to a position to life, because that's what you did when you met them. You show what you're about. I actually think that what you did, by getting the rejection and having the courage to actually go back is fantastic.
Oh,
because the majority of people will just walk away. And they will walk away. And if John or HR had blanked you again, what's changed?
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing to lose for me.
No, you've got absolutely nothing to lose, but you've got something life-changing to gain.
Yeah.
And you'd be staggered. Again, we're coming on to some of the advice we give to inspire people. How many individuals will apply for a position but not connect with the key stakeholder or hiring manager on LinkedIn, or send them a little cheeky message saying, you know, I've admired your brand, I've seen your recruiting, I've applied, love to be considered. What advice would you give me? You can go. There's so many different steps you can go through. But now go back to what I said at the start. Every one of those steps is controlled by you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can own that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the Neve story, please.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I was enjoying it.
Oh, thanks. So, yeah, I took that courageous step, I suppose, to speak with John again, and got the initial interview. And a bit like you said, John, I was a bit like, afterwards I was a bit like, I don't know if I said the right thing, but my family have always said to me, look, your personality, you're very bubbly, you know, as long as you just be yourself and be brave, you're not missing out by doing anything wrong. Yeah, there's nothing to lose. So show your personality. And my granddad always says to me, like, your personality, you've got to let it shine, get it across. So I listened to that, and then I had my second interview, and I met with John in the office, didn't I?
Yeah, that was the first time in the office, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, first time in the office. And like you said earlier, when I walked in, I was like, wow, it's just so incredible. Like, I was like, how this feels like a dream. Like, it's like my dream
I'll be honest,
job.
the Peanuts fridge just drew me in.
Yeah.
You know, straight away. Charlie Brown, I'm there.
Yeah.
They must have thought, "Is that strange fella down there with a hat staring at Charlie Brown?" Like,
Yeah.
you know, that was
That wasn't here when Neve started, though.
No, at the time
okay.
when I walked in, it was the big, massive Diet Coke fridge on the
There
wall.
you go.
Oh, we spoke
Huge
about them,
one,
John. We
yeah.
spoke about that
we did.
collaboration. We spoke about that.
We
that
did.
was that
Yeah.
No, I was joined by a colleague, Phil Coulstock, an area of the business that Neve works in,
Yeah.
and he helped me out with that interview because I like doing interviews, but I like having a wingman or a wing lady with me to ask different questions because it's nice that way, I think, isn't it?
fantastic.
I was asked
Carry
to
on.
do. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, carry on, carry
I
on,
was
I'm
just going to
interested.
say I was asked to do.
You want us to do a song or dance? Will you?
No,
or?
no,
they kept it
presentation.
professional. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
A presentation, and I thought I've already been kind of courageous, so I'm going to take another courageous step.
This was a risk.
This was a risk.
Oh, I'm
But I
excited
just
already. What do you reckon, Charlie?
Yeah, I
There's
just
a bit,
thought,
there's
you
tension
know,
built up.
I'm
It's like
gonna
they've
do it.
rehearsed this, isn't it? No, it's like
So-
they were double acts.
I'm going to do it. I've already taken one risk. I'll take another. So John asked me to put together a presentation on my favourite brand. Now I thought, well, I could say SMEG. I thought to myself, it is one of my favourite brands. I love the brand, always have.
But that's
then
a
I
cop-out.
thought, yeah, that's a bit easy. So I thought, let's
This is good.
be a bit naughty, and we'll go for a very well-known competitor brand.
Other brands are
And
available.
so that was what I based my presentation on. And as soon as it came up on the screen, John and Phil looked at each other, had a little giggle, and I was like, oh no, that's either a good giggle or a bad giggle.
I'm guessing it was a good giggle,
Well,
to be
I'm
fair.
here today, so
I think I'd said to Phil beforehand, I wonder if they're going to mention this said brand. I bet they won't. No, they definitely won't. And then Neve presented on
I
that
presented
particular
it.
brand.
Yeah. I'd done a SWOT analysis. I'd done
Yeah.
everything I could on that brand, but I kind of weaved in the SMEG
The connections
brand.
with Smeg.
Yeah, the connections. So I think that was another brave step. So I guess just be brave would be my advice, and
Yeah.
believe in yourself.
And again, you've done, and I say this, 9 out of 10 people would turn left, turn right. You know, if 9 out of 10 people are going to apply that way, you've applied that way. Not many others, I would imagine, would have done that. You know, because you're going against what people would expect you to do. Yeah, you're being remembered. The world is full, I hate saying this, but the world is full of forgettable people. So if you've actually got a smile on your face and you're doing something different, something brave, something to stand out, wow, you got a hell of a chance. So thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
and 12 months of fun, laughter and
It's been
enjoyment.
the most amazing year of my career, and I'm really grateful to John for taking that chance on me and the whole company. I just love working here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business thing as well. The business likes to encourage new blood into the company, and that's something that we haven't really brought out in this podcast yet. But we want to show faith to people in the local area. We want to bring new talent into the business, and I'm passionate about that. So that's what we've gone and done, really. It's great. But I mean, whether it's me with 13 years of service, Neve with a year, Chris with 7 to 10, and Lucy Abbey with 3 months, I don't know if everyone else agrees with me, but it feels like we've been at SMEG for longer. I feel like I've been at SMEG for a lifetime. I certainly don't think Neve's only been here for 12 months. I would have said 2 to 5 years.
There's a lovely togetherness about you all. You know, the way you came down, and you know,
The integrations.
you made Charlie and I feel welcome, because we kind of stand out a little bit when we're different to the normal visitors, I would imagine.
Gasping for a coffee.
Yeah, I was gagging, mate. I was absolutely gagging for a coffee, and I just wanted to steer the coffee conversation onto coffee and machines as well, because that was important. But that welcome, but the way you are with each other is really special, and that must come through. All your stakeholders, all the people you're dealing with, will feel that, I'd imagine.
I think, there is a great sense of community here, and because we're working in the office every day, I think it makes such a difference. Like with lockdown especially, and a lot of working from home, I think it can get lost. So I think, it's really great to come in the office
We
every
look forward
day.
to seeing each other every day as
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
don't we?
my lockdown working from home story is a sad, lonely one, because I can't work from home. I'm rubbish.
I'm the same as
Yeah.
you.
I'm
Same.
absolutely rubbish. I go to the fridge, I go to the football, I
Yeah, the
can't
fridge.
do it. I can do the odd LinkedIn post, I can do a little bit, but not real work. So I've got a little Cocker Spaniel called Snoop Dogg. Most people know him if they follow me on LinkedIn. He's more popular than me. Can't be with us today, but he sends his love. But
No dogs allowed.
yeah, no dogs allowed. but with Snoop, and it was purely coincidental that we got him the Christmas before lockdown, but what he gave me was the chance to get out and about. So I used to do the long, lonely walk for 15 minutes, not that far, to my office, and I'd be then the lonely business owner in the office, and I'd do a little bit of admin on that desk, I'll do some sales, and that was quite hard to do sales during lockdown, but I'll do some stuff on that desk. But I found it better for me to go into a place of work, and I'm like that now. Even with the new offices we're in the marina, you know, I find it easier to pop in and do an hour's work than pop back home. It works for me, but then I get inspiration by others who've set up brilliant home offices. I've tried all that and failed miserably, so I know my weaknesses, and that's important.
Yeah.
I know my weaknesses, but I spoke to a lot of people that found lockdown really tough, you know, and they found it really, really tough, and they weren't able to get out. And I think we have to celebrate the chance we can be how we are now, because if anyone had said to us, John, what was going to happen, you know, you go back to January, February 2020, what we all went through, we're sitting here now, it affected people's education, it affected people's way of life. You know, people have had bereavements for it. We're here now and we're celebrating individual successes.
And I tell you what, Peter, that's a great cue. You've done it again. Introduce Chris. Chris is our designer. Chris is our designer. Applied from a freelance background, and I'll let him tell his story. But it's really interesting to see how. Chris worked from home. Chris spent many years working from home, and it'd be interesting to see his view on life now.
And Chris has got a very special story as well. Because, John shared some of it with me when I was on the coming onto the M40, and then speaking to you outside the show. Yeah, this is something which I think it's going to send a real message to what can be done. So, Chris, the floor is yours, sir. The audience is yours.
Well,
and these girls, John and the girls have set a high bar.
I know.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Sat here
But you're sitting there thinking, no, this isn't going to plan. I almost bluffed the line. I mean, I haven't cracked many jokes, so I haven't crashed and burned yet, so I can still throw a few bad jokes in.
Come on, I want to hear a joke.
What's the horse say when he goes into a fridge?
No idea.
Okay, let's move on.
So, yeah, basically...
You like that one, Charlie, do you? No, okay.
I started many moons ago. I left school. Didn't get on with school at all. I did my stuff, and I was always good at what I did, but I never really had sort of the academic kind of drive to study. So I quit sixth form, crashed out, went into garden centre, and I used to lug compost.
Nothing's changed there then.
Yeah. Now I just lug fridges. But yeah, I'm going to sort of keep this one because it's quite a long story. But I spent years getting compost water down my back and manure, and I hated it. It was horrible. But I kept going and I kept applying for jobs, and you know. But I always had this thing. I can draw, you know, and I always knew that I could draw, but I couldn't ever see. My mum would say, you need to look at something else because drawing isn't going to make you money. And I was like, well, yeah, it will. I think it will. Anyway, I applied for various different jobs, never had confidence in myself. And then, but I kept going, I kept pushing because I thought, well, I've got to do something. I don't want to be lugging compost for the rest of my life. I managed to sort of jump into a graphic design job, you know, back in the day where you had to apply through the job centre. And I went through and I got this job, I applied for it, and it was in Abingdon, of all places. And they sort of took me on completely by accident and called me for the first week, Peter. So
I didn't apply for that one.
Yeah, so I spent the first week kind of being quiet, thinking, I think they've got the wrong person here.
I've heard you called worse things, Chris, to be honest.
So I got to the end of the...
It's quite an endearing name.
Yeah, I got to the end of the week and I was like, well, my name's not actually Peter. And the guy that employed me, I think he was so embarrassed that he was like, okay, what is your name? So anyway, that's how I got into design. And I'd sort of learnt from the designers, kind of like literally sat with them, and then I moved through my career, and I ended up going into my own business because I wasn't really, you know, happy with the route it was taking, and that's kind of how I sort of stumbled across SMEG, because running your own business is really tough. You know, you're on your own. I'm not a salesman. You know, I'm rubbish at it. And I'm good at drawing, but you've got to be everything when you're running your own business. So I started applying for jobs again and basically saw this one through my auntie. Like, it came up, my auntie worked here already, and she said, oh, you should fill it out. And I was like, oh, all right. So I started to fill it out, and my ink ran out of my thing, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to get it anyway. So I just wrote it out in my neat handwriting. I just wrote it out and posted it, and then didn't think anything else of it.
I think it actually got hand delivered by your auntie.
Possibly. And the next thing, John gave me a call because I stood out from writing it out by hand, which was a complete shock to me because I just kind of brushed it off as one of those things that is just going to be a...
So without knowing, you've actually, without any thought process behind it other than I'll just finish what I've started, you've made a unique application that has 1,000,000% stood you out above every other boring Word document that's coming through or boring processed thing. I've heard you've got calligraphy style writing, so I think your writing's a little... I mean, no one can read my writing, but I've heard your writing's good, which would have stood out. But John, let's just and thank you, Chris. I mean, the manure and compost down your back, that was a graphical picture that the listeners are going to love. But that must have just stood out completely, John, when that landed on your desk.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I was aware of. I knew who Chris's auntie was, and she worked in the business. But it was nice to receive something very different.
Something different.
Something different, and it did stand out.
Yeah, and that's that. So the almost artist representation or graphical representation, handwritten by yourself, it's got you an interview. Did they call you by the right name?
It started off. Yeah, they got them in the right name.
That's good. I mean, I'm just, does anyone know what Peter did next?
I just kept quiet.
Okay.
I was he was so embarrassed. I think that was probably it because he was so embarrassed that he was like, okay, we'll just move on there.
Yeah. I mean, you've gone on to great things. I'm just worried about Peter because, you've got his job.
You know, I come out now and again.
Cool. Carry on, mate. So the journey for you.
So I ran my own business for with SMEG because I've been with SMEG for 10 years, but on the books for sort of around 7.5. And I did freelance for them for quite a while. And then after a little while, it kind of became obvious that I could actually offer them more. So it was kind of like, look, I can do so much more than, because I used to pitch for individual jobs. So I could do, John would contact me, oh, we've got this particular job. Can you do it? Yeah, no problem. It'll cost you X. Fine. But I said to him, look, if I come in under your wing and I'm not, running my own business, I could come in and do work for everybody. And that's kind of how we sort of came on.
Amazing.
And then from then, I've...
And are we 7 or 10 years later?
So it's 10 years total. It's about 7 through.
So that's why. So it's 10 with the freelancing and 7 there. Well, what I would say, Chris, that message to wrap up this part of the show. All right, we've gone through John's journey, we've gone through Lucy's journey, we've gone through Abby's journey, Neve's journey, and you've just done something amazing. Perhaps perhaps it's because the printer run out. Perhaps it's because your handwriting's special. But forget all that. Every one of you controlled it yourself.
Yeah,
and you've believed, and that's what's put you here. And I think that message, Charlie, to end this section of the show, which has been absolutely brilliant, is about inspiring our stars of the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode's been special. It's the 100th episode of the Foy and Jones Show. Woo! I know, we keep saying that. It's the 100th episode. We're in treble figures. I'm going to get T-shirts made, John. I'm going to write a book.
I'm waiting for my ball.
You've got to come back onto another episode to get the ball. But he done that well there, didn't he? On the subject of round balls. I cannot have an episode of the Foy and Jones Show without bringing some football banter in. We're not going to talk about Charlie's team, because they're at the top of the Premier League, so we're not really that interested in them. We're not interested in Arsenal. But John, lifelong Manchester United fan, saw your post, it made me smile.
Was it a bit gushing?
I mean, look, hey-ho, I bumped into Fulham captain Tom Kearney in a petrol station before the game Friday night. We did a selfie. It was okay. He thought I was a strange old man, but it was all right. He did
it was a bit of man love going on there.
There was proper love going on as well. He got really bored when I was telling him about this goal he scored and that goal he scored, but... You had that. your club, your team, manager's making stuff special. He's done well. He's dealt with a big problem. He's got the team together, and you picked up your first trophy in a while at Wembley, Manchester United.
Absolutely, yeah. And it brings back some boyhood memories for me. Remember when I was 7 years old and my dad took me to the old Man United training ground. He had a piece of equipment that mended Ryan Giggs' hamstring injury, and for many years Ryan Giggs was being berated in the media for man in tights, and he wore these tights that held his hamstring in place. The machine solved the injury, and I was the one that delivered it. And during that experience, I met all the old players. And when I went back to Old Trafford this weekend, I saw some of those old players. I walked past and bumped into Brian Robson, and we did the museum tour, and we saw Peter Schmeichel's huge gloves, and as a kid I stood there in awe. And there I was with my kid at the same age that I was, 7 years old, when I first went, and I took him round, and he's absolutely loving football at the moment, and we had an amazing weekend.
It's an amazing. I mean, the Theatre of Dreams is special. You know, I remember Fulham's first game back in the Premier League. Well, first time ever in the Premier League. So I grew up watching. I'm going to bore you, but I grew up watching Fulham in the fourth division. So they were rubbish. We were playing, lower league football. I never dreamt we'd be in the Premier League ever. But when we got there, first game, obviously we draw Man United. Of course we do. I mean, we go. We're going to get battered. Oh no, we've got the audacity to score first. We go 1-up. Then you equalise. Some bloke called Ruvan Nistelrooy. Then we even more cheeky. We go 2-1 up. Louis Saha scores both goals. Then some fella called David Beckham. I don't know if you know him.
Oh yeah.
He called a free kick in.
He was from London as well.
He called a free kick in 2-2, and then they get the win and we lose 3-2. And just to rub it in even worse, that Christmas Fergie bought Louis Saha and he started playing for Man United as well.
That was a bit special, wasn't it?
That was welcome to the Premier League. But great to see Man United pick a trophy up again.
Yeah, it's nice to see a recovery. And
I felt sorry for the 10 million Newcastle fans that were in Trafalgar Square the night before.
Yeah. We even had an old foe of SMEG, Tony the Fridge, that carried an orange fridge. Your original fridge carried the orange fridge from John O'Groats to Land's End. Massive Newcastle fan, and like the other 40,000 fans, spent time in Trafalgar Square near the SMEG store, and they spent all day there, and they went home trophy-less. So I do feel a bit gutted about it.
And it was a big moment for the club, for Newcastle, just to be back amongst it as well.
Absolutely.
And you could, but there is, if you talk to a Newcastle United fan, I know so many of them, the Eddie Howe factor is making such a massive difference to that club. Yes, they've got gazillions in terms of investment, but he's spending it wisely. And in terms of investment, and in terms of a team outperforming where they should be, punching well above their weight, let's talk about our football team, Fulham Football Club. Let's talk about our football team. I can't do this to Lucy. She's not really a Fulham fan, but we're having a decent season. We're sixth in the Premier League.
It's great.
We've got a game tonight against Leeds United in the FA Cup, and do you know what? I would have been happy up above anywhere fourth bottom, so we didn't go relegated. So good time for my team. Good time for your team. Good time for your team, Lucy. Up to Fulham.
I mean, I won't tell you that I am a United fan, but it's
no.
Sorry.
Charlie,
That was
you have
a
to
blow.
edit this out.
It's the family team.
That's got to be edited out.
That's normally what Arsenal fans do, isn't it?
Yeah. Edit it all out and somehow make it about Arsenal.
Same old Arsenal.
All right, so we had a few challenges before we entered the studio. One was that we walked in fun and we walked in with smiles on our faces. Are we going to leave happy? Are we going to leave that we've had fun?
Definitely.
Absolutely,
Without
yeah.
a shadow
Different
of a
day at the
doubt.
office. So we've got an important message that I want to do. I want some important messages to end this episode and inspire our stars of the future, okay? So we're going to start with you, Abby.
No pressure.
All right? I'd like you to give 3 bits of advice to people beginning their journey. What would you say?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that everyone's on a different path, whether that's like in your personal life, career, and everyone gets to different stages at different times. You know, some people get there straight away and they might be really lucky. Some may go a less traditional way, but I think, just keep the faith that you will get there and always stick to yourself, whether it's like your portfolio, your CV, the company you're applying for. Just go for someone that I think life's too short to apply for a job, like apply for loads that you're not going to enjoy. I think really stick to who you are and you'll enjoy it.
Fantastic.
And can I add to that? The KBB sector is brilliant. So it's a sector that doesn't necessarily jump out from a young age, but there's so much potential for this industry. And
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's
we're passionate
that's
about
what I want to
developing
work
people.
on. I want to showcase careers like this.
Yeah.
Because when people think design, they think KBB, they think these products, you're immediately thinking showroom management, you're thinking design, you're thinking business development, specification. What we're actually showing here in this room is that there's different career pathways within the same brands and within the same businesses.
And I think even though we're all one marketing team, we all cover such different areas, and I think you don't really realise that until you get into the job yourself.
I want to hang out with you all. It just feels like fun. You know,
Come for a cup of coffee.
I mean, there's a whole array of coffee we could have, but it feels like fun. Anything else, Abby?
I think especially working with the people the people that you work with, you need to enjoy it as well. And I think working in a place that such a great sense of community, like we were saying earlier, I think it makes such a big difference. So just make sure you're in a place you know you will enjoy, and it will keep you inspired to want to keep working there. And
it's a powerful message. They're powerful messages there. Thank you, Abby. Okay, so no pressure, Neve. You know, no pressure.
Last up.
You're gonna wrap up the show.
I'll keep it short and sweet.
You don't have to. You
say-
could, but don't talk about anyone else's podcast, because I know you've got that trick in your locker. So we will cut that out.
And we'll wait for the Peaky Blinders theme tune to...
Over to you. Three pieces of advice.
My 3 pieces of advice would be aim high, take a risk, and be yourself.
That's
pretty good.
That is absolutely
Trump's
fantastic.
mine, I think.
And I've got to say that's just a brilliant end to episode 2. Thank you so much for having me and Charlie today.
Thank you.
It's been worth the journey. It's worth the trip. We're excited about making this happen. Being on location is about taking the show to different experiences, different pressure points, feeling differently. We've got a brilliant studio in Brighton. You're all welcome down there to come. John's been there before.
We'd love to.
But coming here to record it and to really get the feeling of what you're about as a team is brilliant. Chris, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lucy, not Fulham fan. We've got that in. She's had to get it in. She's Man U with John. All right, Abby, Neve, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is the end of episode 2 from season 6 of The Foy and Jones Show. Thanks for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I said, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out next week's episode, as we will keep inspiring our stars of the future.